Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to be learning about some of the different types of forces that we'll be using in physics class this year. So each of these images represents a type of force. Take a second to look at them and brainstorm 3 possible forces that we might be working with this year. Alright, so the first one that we'll go over is this pushing force that's called an applied force. The second one is if you're pulling on something. That's called tension. This person with the parachute represents air resistance. We've done problems like this where something is dropped or is falling, and that's because of the force of gravity. This unit, we're going to introduce the spring force, so we're going to be working with springs. That can be a push or a pull, depending. This represents an electric force or an electrostatic force. We'll get to that later in the year. This represents the force of friction. This magnet represents the magnetic force. We'll briefly go through that later in the year also. And this diagram represents the normal force. We label it Fn, and it's the force of a surface acting on an object. So these are a bunch of different types of forces that we're going to be talking about. The next thing we're going to be learning in physics class is how to draw free body diagrams. So when we say draw a picture or a diagram, you may imagine something like this at first, where you're drawing a picture of what is happening. This is not going to be as useful for us in physics class. What we're actually going to be doing is drawing something more like the one on the right. So instead of even just drawing an outline of the person, can make the diagram look more confusing and be less helpful in physics class. So instead of drawing a picture of what's happening or a picture, even a simplified picture, we tend to represent every single object as either a dot or a box or a circle, something really simple. And then you draw these forces by drawing arrows and labeling them, showing what the forces are that are acting on a given object. So when we work on these problems in class tomorrow, you will need to know 6 different types of forces. So we'll go through those tomorrow, which 6 are the most important for this unit. You'll need to be able to interpret a word problem and to determine which forces are acting on an object. And then you will need to draw and label arrows representing those forces.